Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm playing in the Tier 10 American autoloading heavy tank. It is the one, it's the only, it's the T57 Heavy. I love this vehicle for when I want to blow off a little bit of steam, when I want to get myself into some dirty fights and feel that I have the hit points, sometimes the armor, but definitely the unload potential and the DPM to be able to take it to whatever will be sitting in front of me. I must clarify, however, that this vehicle has far from my best win ratio of my tier 10 heavy tanks. And that's because really it's just not as competitive as a vehicle like the VZ55 or even the Kranvang, which it has to get matched up against. That's the problem when you play this tank, that you're usually playing against better vehicles, as we can see to the left the Kranvang and to the right the VZ55. Those two vehicles have better turrets, and they also kind of have better hull armor in the form of the VZ55, unless they manage to get the lower plate. But the T57 Heavy has the better DPM, although not by nearly as much as it used to. And it has a full 1,600 magazine, which it can deliver in 6 seconds, compared to the VZ55, which isn't even doing 1,000 damage, although it is delivering it in 2 seconds. And how often do you actually need the full magazine in World of Tanks? Well, I guess we're going to find out in this replay. So I've talked about this on the channel before. My favorite way to set this vehicle up is with vertical stabilizers, a rotation device, and vents. That's the same setup that Dr. Babylon was using in the video on Friday, where we were talking about the Skoda T56 and whether it's the best tier 8 tank in the game. Unfortunately, I believe I was on my desktop at this moment, probably sorting something out, and so I was blocking unknowingly the IS-7 in this scenario. Now, I'd never recommend to go onto your desktop and AFK right in the middle of the game, but you know, sometimes when you're streaming, things pop up and you do have to handle them. So by double stacking the vertical stabilizers and the rotation device on this tank, just like I said on Friday, you have incredible gun handling. And vehicles like this that have an incredible intra-clip reload, but bad aim time, not the best dispersion values, 0.025 or 0.25 I should say when moving, and 0.18 when turning the turret, this tank is incredibly awkward if you don't double stack. So this is just the mother of all horrible situations. I've got some of the most dangerous front-loaded damage in the game, and there's a Jagdpanzer who comes around the corner. I really want to get stuck in. I really wish this Jagdpanzer would give me cover. He manages to get shut down by a Leopard. I don't want to push this 430U around the corner, but I really have to try and get into the fray, otherwise we're all going to die. I'm sorry, Mr. 430U, I've got to come through there. Luckily, it doesn't look like he's going to take some more punishment, and as the VZ55 decides to focus me instead. And the 277 also bounces, and just like that, the T57 Heavy unloads 3, pushes through that gap. In that kind of a situation, unless you're a one-shot and you're having to go around the corner against something, I really feel like we have to push through. And, I mean, apologies to the Object 430U, who's still over the half of their hit points, but if we didn't get through that situation and deal with those autoloaders before they dealt with us, then we wouldn't be in this game. And what's the point of keeping your hit points if they're just going to take them away from you in better scenarios? In this game, they're clearly winning the center of the map and they're winning the south of the map. So it's right now, what we have to do is we have to plow through and we have to go after the enemy's mid, or should I say their western front and their northern front. And unfortunately for us, this T57 Heavy has found an absolute beautiful position to be able to counter us. And there's a 121B on the enemy team, as we can see, who's also in a fabulous position as well. I did not realize just how strong this position here is for the Lerva, because you're completely covered unless they come across the bridge, and even if they do, you've got a lovely hold down position that you can use. And so digging tanks out of this scenario is actually incredibly tricky. I have to kind of scratch my head here a little bit and think, how am I actually going to get myself out of this situation? The TVP doesn't want to come around the corner, the Leopard wants to hold in that position, the 121B is still on all of their hit points, and my whole team is now a one-shot. We might have equal numbers of tanks to the enemy team, but we've actually nearly got half of their hit points, as this one is going to be a tricky one to be able to get through. So I decided, instead of going north and getting into a crossfire of a 121B and a TVP, that instead I have to try and push along this southern flank, keep the 121B honest, not let him shoot me in the side, not worry about anything towards the south of the map. This is the only chance that we have to win the game. And the T57 Heavy, as I said, it's not an intelligent tank. It's a bit of a big derpy brute that goes around and hopefully catches its opponents like that. Now, if I was using the turbo on this vehicle, it would definitely make a fairly mediocre top speed limit of 35.4 kilometers an hour better. It would get right up nearly towards the 40 mark if you took a mobility slot on this tank and you put it in the second slot. But I really just feel that this whole tank is designed to reload quickly with high DPM and then to burst out the enemy team. And what's the point of playing the vehicle and being slightly faster when you want to be focused on that damaging potential, especially if you want to engage your opponents at mid to long distances and not at close quarters knife fighting combat like we have here. So I hopefully let the T124 realize I've got the hit points to spare, let the 121B shoot at me, and huge misplay by the 121B, not only to shoot me in the tracks, but also to just shoot me. If that player had shot the T110E4, I wouldn't have been able to kill the 121B in a single magazine. They were on all of their hit points there, and I would have only been able to do 1,600 damage to them. And instead they let the T110E4 do their 750 alpha damage, should not have focused me, should have focused the T110E4, and then probably could have ended up killing me while I was reloading. So awful play there by the 121B. But then again, you know, it is a tricky scenario, and you don't want to leave a T57 Heavy for as long as possible, right? You probably want to be shutting it down quickly, but the correct play would have been to engage the T110E4 there. I'm going to try and use the misplay by the enemy team now that we've finally secured the northern flank to now try and put pressure across the middle of the map. I don't really fancy trying to handle a Badger, a Foch B, and a Batchat in a bunker. So I'm going to tell the Batchatillon 25T on my team. Sorry, not the Batchatillon 25T on my team. I wish I could tell. I wish he was on my team right now because we would have more chance of being able to win this game. I'm going to tell the T110E4 that he should fall back and he shouldn't get caught in this scenario. All of the plays that I'm going to be making here are chancy. And when you're in these kind of situations where the enemy have an extra tank but you have a self-propelled gun and they have an extra 2,000 hit points, you have to take chances to be able to win these games. So crossing in the open there, to all intents and purposes, the Batchat could have spotted me, but I don't have the luxury of time to be able to loop round. I have to try and get into position to try and help out my Progetto against the Stridsvagn 103B, because the Foch B and the Badger, for all we know, they are on full hit points. And this vehicle, it does very well against tanks that are wounded, but doesn't do very well against vehicles that are full hit points in that kind of 1 versus 1 scenario. Sure, you might be able to put a few rounds in, and then hopefully you can survive long enough with your hit points to be able to reload, but when you're so down on hit points like we are, yeah, that's not going to work out. Talking about being down on hit points, the Progetto 65 has just taken some rounds from the side there, but luckily our gun handling allows us to loop one into the Stridsvagn 103B. And I'm considering right now, should I reload, should I not reload? Will I get pushed by the Stridsvagn? Will the Batchat push me? I come around the corner, and luckily it looks like Wargaming have made that corner in a position where you don't get hit and you can advance into this scenario. And then I'm hoping above all that we're going to be able to get another round into the Badger, maybe even 2 rounds into the Badger. Oh, that's a good result. 800 hit points off the Badger now, and his 2,100 is looking like a much more achievable 1,200. So I had to reload there after the Badger because I thought I might need the extra rounds for the Batchat or the Foch B or even just the round for the Stridsvagn 103B. But a big shout out to the artillery on my team for managing to shut down the Stridsvagn 103B. Looks like they were preloaded for that corner, and this game is suddenly starting to look a little bit closer. So the Badger's going to be situated in the center. I want to see if I can try and keep this Batchatillon honest. They may be called Dumb 61, but I can tell you, as you're going to see by the end of this game, the Batchat clearly wasn't dumb in World of Tanks, at least. So I'm going to advance through here, and I'm just wondering if my Sixth Sense is going to go off. You see that I slow down as I come around the corner, and my Sixth Sense goes off, so I'm going to blind fire. Maybe I can shave off a few of these Batchat's hit points. Actually, the last time we saw the Batchat, they were a one-shot, clearly meaning that unless I was shooting the Foch B, that we actually missed all of those rounds. I don't want to waste too much ammunition here. This is one of those scenarios where I'm hoping that they won't think that I've reloaded and I've got a couple of rounds left and they're not going to come round the corner. But actually, I am reloading because a vehicle like this has an incredible reload time. When you're taking into account Brothers in Arms, vents, and a premium consumable, you're getting it down to around the 20-second mark. And considering you have 1,600 damage to deal in 6 seconds, that is beautiful. What isn't beautiful, however, is the fact that that Foch B shuts down the T110E4 on my team. And the artillery, unfortunately, misses the Foch B, which means I'm going to have to put 2 rounds into them, 3 rounds into the Badger, and 1 round into the Bat Chatillon. Yeah, 6 penetrations. My magazine isn't quite that big. And a vehicle like this, just not nearly as good as the VZ55 for these scenarios. 490 alpha damage is... it's higher, and that allows you to be able to, more often than not, deal with those vehicles that are on those kind of like quarter hit point marks. And then, even if you miss the first shot, you've got a second one, and then a very speedy reload to be able to get the magazine back in again, unlike the T57 Heavy, which it does take a little bit longer. Alright, so I'm trying to flank around, trying to find the Foch B, but with 1 minute and 25 seconds left on the cap, I don't really have the luxury of time. The Bat Chat could enter the cap circle as well, and then he might be able to get 30 or 40 seconds off, and then I'd really have to act to try and take a bunker on Berlin to try and dig out the enemy team. Driving like that also isn't going to help the situation. Luckily for me, the GWE 100 managed to spot the Foch, and then somehow I managed to spot the Badger without getting spotted in this scenario, and so I'm going to let the GWE 100 hopefully distract the Foch B, hopefully maybe even get a shot in against the Foch B so I can shut them down a little bit later on, and I have to go and try and interrupt this Badger in the center of the map. Now remember, they're on about 1,200 hit points, and so I should be able to kill them in 3 to 4 shots. 40 seconds left, thinking, will I get some shots on the Foch? I can't really, I'm going to focus on the Badger, so I aim towards the Badger. It looks like he's aiming at the artillery, and he tunnel visions to all hell. We put 1 into him, tries to reverse, doesn't quite know what's going on, and maybe the Badger thinks that the game is over, and we managed to put all 4 rounds into the back of the Badger. I used my repair kit to get away from the Bat Chatillon 25T, who's firing a heat round at us, as we were doing against the Badger there, and now we're reloading our armor-piercing magazine, and then we end up in a 1 versus 2 scenario. So, you know what? Even if I was to fall out now, I'd still be very happy with the way that we've played this T57 Heavy game. We're not a Kranvang, we're not fast enough to be able to outmaneuver our opponents, but luckily we've put ourselves in a situation where we even have a chance to be able to come back into this game. 5,700 damage and 3 kills, but we're going to have to do another 829 more if we want to take this one down. Now, the Bat Chat, as I said earlier, is a one-shot. The Foch B, I'm going to have to put 2 or 3 rounds into them depending on how lucky I am. Now, I have got 4 rounds inside the tank, so as long as I put 2 inside the Foch... oh dear, okay, 3 rounds left, now the shells count. The Bat Chat's probably going to be thinking about coming after me. Where is that Bat Chat going to be? So in this scenario, it's no use to hang around. You have to be aggressive, and that's why I'm trying to take the fight to the Foch B here. And luckily for me, he's also trying to take the fight to me. Maybe he thinks that I'm reloading in this scenario. Put 1 round in the lower plate, I bounce 1 of his shells, put 1 into the weak point on top of the tank, and now I've got 1 shot. Should I reload or should I hold it? Well, I'm going to let the chips fall where they may. I think the Bat Chat will probably think that I'm reloading. He's going to come in and fight me, and there he is. He's on my right. I'm aiming. He's going to reverse and... disaster strikes, boys and girls. The Bat Chat clearly knows that I'm reloading now, and unfortunately for me, he just wasn't quite dumb enough. Well played to you, Mr. Bat Chat, for shutting me down at the end of the game. That was an absolute heartbreak moment for me that shell went wide, preventing us from taking down a game that was pretty much as close as it gets. So let's just relive that moment in half speed so I can let you know what I was thinking. So in this scenario, it's all about getting my gun round to bear on the Bat Chat. And in this situation, where you've got pretty much most of the enemy tank in your reticle, as we can see, we obviously know that there's a Stridsvagn 103B here, that I need to fire as soon as he falls back round the corner, because do I want to allow a Bat Chat to be hiding round cover, just firing heat rounds at my vehicle when I'm caught completely out in the open? In this situation, where my fuel tanks are damaged, I've got no repair kit, it's all about trying to just give yourself the best possible opportunity to shut down the vehicle before they manage to shut you down. And if we see, when I decide to fire, now would be the correct time, because the more the Bat Chat gets back round the corner, the more the Bat Chat's going to remain hidden in this situation. And you can see I just take the chance, and the shell dips pretty much out of the reticle. Watching that one back, it doesn't get any easier to take. But that's RNG in World of Tanks. When you're hitting those miracle shells in the KV2, you can't have that as well as also cry when it doesn't go in your favor. And win, lose, or draw in these kind of close games of World of Tanks, these are the rounds that I play the game for. especially all of you, will know how much recently there have been kind of like 15-0 games that just don't even feel worth playing. This one, I mean, I'm not going to lie, I'd rather win, but these are the kind of games that are as close as it gets that World of Tanks at least should be all about. So an ace tanker here for the T57 Heavy for our high caliber for our 6,400 damage dealt, and a defender medal for protecting the cap circle against the basher. I more or less broke even in this game. I did fire a filthy amount of heat ammunition, but that's because this tank doesn't carry much ammunition to begin with, and I was running out towards the end of the battle. So the T57 Heavy, still one of the most fun action brawlers that you can play inside the game. Is it the best? Definitely not. I'd be an idiot if I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't say that you will do better if you're a good player inside the Kranvang and probably inside the VZ55 as well. That doesn't mean that the American T57 Heavy can't shine, at least sometimes. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, give the video a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Sunday, it's time for the World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, as the IS-4 is about to be top of the tree on Wednesday, no better time to feature one of the original tanks in World of Tanks, although it was at tier 9 originally, now at tier 10. It's a great brawling Soviet heavy tank. It has a lot of fun vehicles leading up to it as well. So come along and I'll show you everything that you need to know for the line that's about to be top of the tree on Wednesday. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic and hopefully I'll see you soon.